Peace and love, family. Welcome to the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with former political prisoners. This is Martyrs Month.
Dijeron negro y todos me señalaron. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon.
Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. But I'm amongst family. You know, we make errors.
Dijeron negro y todos me señalaron. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse.
Today's episode, we talk about Maurice Bishop, from Grenada, born May 29th, 1944, and he was assassinated October 19th, 1983. He was only 39 years old. But in examining his work and his legacy, we have to first look at what Grenada was going through, right? You're talking about slavery. You're talking about 400 years of exploitation. So when the brother Maurice Bishop comes into consciousness, he decides that he's going to take a stand. He shares the same psyche as our political prisoners, our Kamal Siddiquis, our Mumia Abu Jamals, our Joy Powers, and so many others, right? They understand that they have to take a position, very clear with that position. So Grenada is under exploitation for over 400 years. You have a number of colonial powers fighting for control of this particular place. They are undermining its development, and they are sabotaging the people's right to self-determination. Our brother Maurice Bishop, he had enough. In 24 hours, his revolutionary movement, or the revolutionary movement he was a part of, overthrew a dictator by the name of Eric Gary. This dictator was so vicious that he would send his followers out to other countries so they could get training on torture. So that was his psyche, that was his mind frame. Maurice Bishop had one of many quotes. One quote that stuck to me and really resonated with me was that he said, "Revolutionaries do not have the right to be cowards. We have to stand up to fight for our country because the country is ours. It does not belong to anybody else." So that's who Maurice Bishop is, right? And I say is because those ideas have been recorded, documented, and they are presented to a new generation, a generation that has to make a decision. Will they watch their people be exploited, mistreated, and continuously oppressed? Or will they decide that enough is enough, that they're going to stand up for them and take action? He was also the head. He also headed the People's Revolutionary Government of Grenada, and this was from 1979 to his assassination in 1983. So today's discussion is about Maurice. What's your thoughts and ideas on our brother, comrade Maurice Bishop?
Now, I'm inspired. I understand. Why the enemy doesn't want our people to have a certain type of education. The education that talks about the lives of revolutionaries, who they were, what makes them tick, what makes them act the way they do, their struggles, what they overcame. A very, very powerful teaching, very, very powerful education for our people. Maurice Bishop, stood out as a golden example for our people. A brother who organized the New Jewel movement that stood up to the oppressor, to the exploitative system, lorded over by Eric Gary, a puppet for the colonizer, stood up and engaged in armed struggle. It was it was successful very, very quickly, So this tells us that, you know, revolution can be successful. And when we study the lives of revolutionaries and what revolutionaries brought, they always brought benefits to the people, you know. And as a revolutionary, I want to bring benefit to the people. You know, I don't want to, you know, ever be, you know, a leech on the people or a burden, you know. But I want to benefit the people. I want to help the people. You know, this is what's in my heart. So among the, I'll read some of the benefits that he brought. He brought low cost building materials for the people, low interest-free loans, health care, free education, you know, increase and double the amount of doctors and dentists in the area. You know, the country was in shambles, very, very underdeveloped. He brought liberation for women, you know, in an exploitation for women, you know, and got women placed in very, very high place, you know, in the administration. You dig? You know, engaged in armed struggle against the colonizer. You know, was very, very successful in that. You know, and this doubles and triples and quadruples, you know, my belief that the revolutionaries will be successful, you know, that the enemy, you know, has a very, very weak position, you know, that the love of the people, when people come together, you know, and are tired of the exploitation and tired of inhumane treatment and torture, you know, being treated like dogs, you know, you have a fervent force. You know, you have an atomic force, you know, working for you. When the people get tired of that and come together with principles, you know, and loyalty, you know, and love for one another, you know, the people cannot be defeated. You know, I want to read a couple of a short statement about it, brother, which is very, very meaningful to me. You know, I hope this phone is acting right. Sometime I look for things and they disappear. Whoa, here they is right here. Okay. How many times we heard the statement, forward ever, backwards never?
Many times.
Many times. I didn't know that Maurice Bishop was the first one that said that. You know.
Wow.
Another statement he made, very, very meaningful to me is, we hold the truth itself to be revolutionary, and we shall stand firm by its side. You know, truth is a very, very powerful thing. You know, as we study, you know, one of the task of education is to find out what's real in the world, to find out what the truth is. You know, to dispel a fake argument, you know, to replace it by a real argument, to make the truth win. You know, and in fact, the attribute I chose for myself, Haq. You know, my name is Abdul Haq, which means the servant of the truth. So I picked that attribute for myself. Truth being an attribute of the Creator. You know, and I see truth as being something that needs to gain strength, that does gain strength in the world, that causes you to win. You know, that gives you a logical argument, and enables you to learn the rules of evidence. What argument makes sense and what don't. You know, what somebody says can be proven. You know, or what can be verified. What's reliable. You know, and we stand by its side. And like I said, this was a quote by Brother Maurice Bishop. You know, and this was evidence in his life. You know, being a true revolutionary. You know, who overcame the reactionary, the colonizers' rule under the very, very cruel and unjust ruler, Eric Gary. You know, was successful in Grenada. You dig, and you know, and he spoke at Hunter College. And one thing that the Speaker of Hunter College did was that he brought the black people's attention to what's happening in Grenada. And soon after that, he was assassinated. you know, and you know, I have to, you know, somebody will help me not to lose my mind the next time I see a Negro wearing an American flag on his head, on his shirt. You understand? Ronald Reagan, you understand? An American invaded community, bomb grenader, you know, a very, inflicted very pain, suffering, and death on the people, you know. And it's instances like this to let us know the nature of this stuff that we're living in and why we must be revolutionary.
Absolutely. So when we talk about Maurice Bishop, it's important that we have to study his legacy. That means we should be examine his speeches, and we should always we should look for books that's dealing with him. And because once we start understanding what his theory was, as far as the ideas that he was carrying out, then we understand how that relates to us currently. I know that online I've seen 2 books. It said In Nobody's Backyard, Maurice Bishop Speeches, 1979 to 1983. Also, Maurice Bishop's speech, The Grenada Revolution, 1979 to 1983. I think that that's the proper way to honor somebody, is to reflect on what they stood for, reflect on their ideas, and put it into practice currently. Because when we talk about what we're going on, what's going on in our community, people of African descent, our community, we're dealing with a number of the same issues that those who are under oppression anywhere are dealing with, right? You're dealing with the fact that you don't control or have jobs in your community. You're dealing with the fact that you don't control land in your community. You're dealing with the fact that, you know, you have police terrorism, right? So you have a outside force coming in your community and imposing ideas that are not beneficial to the collective. And we have to look at that in a way where you examine the social science. So you decide that you're going to take a position against that. You're going to organize people. They're going to confront those issues. You know, we have Black Solidarity Day coming up soon. And this is a time for us to think about, you know, what's in our best interest as a collective and what's in the interest of the community. And Maurice Bishop, his example is what you need to do about that. Because when you look at what the oppressor, those colonial powers do to a foreign country, they make sure that the foreigners are illiterate. So you don't get to examine what's going on currently, and you just accept your current situation. So now when the revolution happens, the revolution has a institution available for the people to be educated. Now you have an increase in literacy. Now people are made conscious. They're made to understand that they have an actual role in the government, and they are in a position to make decisions, to have input, and this way you continue to develop your country. That said a lot about the revolution that Maurice Bishop was a part of. No, when we did our research prior to us coming on, we looked at a piece, and in this piece, one of the people who benefited off the revolution said that it changed in quantity and quality. And I think that that itself says a lot about what the revolution is about and what it presented in terms of people. So now you have free education, you have a different position in society for women, you have medical health care that is accessible to others, you have a different quality of housing and employment. So now you see a serious change as opposed to what it was before, when you had a dictatorship under Eric Gary, where he himself said that he was there by divine rule, and he was that God appointed him to that position, and he only answered to God, so he wasn't being responsible regarding his mistakes. He had Mongoose Gang. The Mongoose Gang carried out his dictatorship. So we have to look at that, because you want to look at a life before the revolution and life after the revolution, and now you're very appreciative of the revolution. And now you have to ask yourself questions. Why did the deputy prime minister assassinate Maurice Bishop? Who was he working for? Was he working for the CIA? And what came to being after his acquisition to Bishop, to a prime minister, excuse me. And when I did research, he even met the same fate that he imposed on somebody else. So it's just very interesting how things turn out. But when we deal with the ideas of Maurice Bishop, we're dealing with the ideas of political prisoners, people who love their people enough to put their very life on the line, and they are not just on the sidelines watching things take place and having a very articulate analysis of the climate. They are actually on the ground, boots on the ground, organizing people, letting people know that we have to take this responsibility ourselves. We have to put our bodies on the front line, and that's what it amounts to. So, brother, when you came into the knowledge or came to the understanding about who Maurice Bishop was, how did that resonate with you?
Well, it made an impression on me of the value of revolutionaries and the changes that revolutionaries bring about, and the need to be a revolutionary, and like you said, Maurice Bishop said, you're not allowed to be a coward, to be a revolutionary, you must bring forth the most excellent aspects of your humanity. You want to stand up your truthfulness, your honesty, your bravery, your loyalty, your love for the people. Revolutionaries bring out the best in people, the best in human beings. The human being is a very, very beautiful thing, and the revolution brings out that beauty. Another thing that made me relate Maurice Bishop to what's happening right now. Very, very soon we're having Black Solidarity Day, and Maurice Bishop in Grenada. But before the revolution, the people of Grenada had to get their food from the outside, and at very, very high prices, and they saved a whole lot of money by growing their own food. They developed their own education system. So these are things that self-determination must be at work, in these various areas. Buying and selling. The people creating economic independence. Whereas their dependence, their livelihood, does not depend on the whims, of a predator. That the better aspects, of being employed and working for yourself, all of that come to fore. So, so Maurice Bishop, is the martyrs live in us. The behavior lives in us. The actions that we take, similar to the actions that they take, they're still alive, in spite of being dead, and it's very, very beneficial for the people. So the people must study the life of brothers like this, the brother of this life, the way he thought, the way he sacrificed, knowing that that what he did, that the stand that he took, could cost him his life. This is true of martyrs. They know that what they do can cause their death, but they do it anyway. But in the metaphorical sense, they're not dead, because we carry on that thought, we carry on that work.
Absolutely.
Even though the greatest enemy to mankind doesn't want that type of education to go on, but in spite of that, we continue to hit there, because we know that that's the way that we will be liberated. Without a doubt, we're going to win.
Absolutely. But, in order for us to win, we have to endure, right? And despite the setbacks, we have to look at what's happening, and we have to commit ourselves even more so. And that is the role, and that is the objective of Martyrs Month. Martyrs Month is a time where we evaluate martyrs, where we talk about their legacy, right? We talked about Che Guevara. We talked about his commitment to his country, and even countries in other places, right? He was taking it even further. We look at Maurice Bishop today. This, unfortunately, we got a late start on developing episodes for Martyrs Month, but yet and still, as we talk about these two specifically, there are others that represent the same principles, right? To advocate for people's self-determination. You know, people like Thomas Sankara, people like Samora Machel. You know, they were all assassinated in the month of October. You know, we can't forget them, what they committed to their country, because there was life before these martyrs, and then there's life after that, right? Because the life of the martyr, in terms of what the work that they did, change life for common people. And as we evaluate that, we analyze that, we decide that, okay, these ideas are obviously correct, right? If we're and that it depends on who you're asking, right? Some people benefit off of a people's exploitation and a people's oppression, you know. And but those revolutionaries, those freedom fighters, they do not benefit off of people's exploitation, and they take a different position. They take a position that they're going to advocate for the advancement of the people, that they're going to go to work, they're going to commit themselves to doing the work, they're going to organize others, and they're going to make it very clear about what they are standing for. You know, Maurice Bishop, his revolutionary organization was being accused of doing certain things, and he brought it to the attention of those who were in attendance. Right, and he was letting people know how ridiculous those accusations sounded. And I think that to do that is to let people know that you are genuine, you are for them, and they have to be very aware of the ideas, the propaganda of the enemies, and they have to understand that this is to undermine their right to self-determination. And, you know, that's the whole idea that comes around political prisoners, right? When you bring the ideas of political prisoners, you have to educate people on political prisoners, because the system, the state, does not acknowledge any political prisoners. Say, in fact, they're not political prisoners, they're terrorists. So we have the responsibility to attack these ideas, because that's exactly what's going on. It's a war of ideas, right? They attack our ideas, we have to attack their ideas. We have to defend our ideas. And that's why political education is crucial. Because as we did research, we were witnessing the workers being educated politically regarding their role in society. So they understood what was going on, and they understood their role, because you have to have that clear relationship to your current situation politically, and where you want to go to, and how you want to advance, and how you want to stay there. Because you make revolution to gain power, and you have to keep fighting to stay in power, because there are people on the outside that are trying to find their way to infiltrate your organization, to undermine your development, to regain their power. What advice would you give to any group of people interested in organizing? What should they be aware of, and how can they strengthen their organization the way Maurice Bishop did?
You know, I get ideas on that from what you recently said, you know, talking about political education, talking about politics. You know, politics is when people come together and make plans and struggle to make those plans become reality. You know, so our enemy does that, and we do that. You know, our enemy makes plans, and you know, the power is the ability to make those plans become real. You know, and as we struggle against the enemy, we plan also. So that's what the politics is about. And the political education, you know, teaches us how to be successful in that endeavor. You know, it teaches us, you know, the power that the masses of the people have in coming together, forming organizations, forming movements. You know, just like Maurice Bishop had a movement, the new Jewel movement, you know, which stood up to and defeated the reactionary movement in the country, you know, and took power in the land, you know. So as we study politics, you know, politics is not just having to like this year, having to choose between Donald Trump, a fascist, and Kamala Harris, a baby killer in Palestine, murdering babies for America. That ain't what
evil,
that ain't what that ain't what politics is. We can't limit our political understanding to that aspect. That ain't what it is. We must organize. To fight for our rights. That's the politics. That's the real politics for us, and that's the political education that we must give to our people. And indeed, with that type of organizing and that type of activity, was Maurice Bishop was a prime example of. Truly, we can gain the power to make the plans and make the plans come to life, for us and defeat our enemies.
Absolutely. It's going to require work. It's going to require commitment. It's going to require sacrifice, right? You look at the time that Maurice Bishop was born and what he went through and how he developed in terms of his politics. There was less distraction than we have now, right? We have the internet. We have a number of channels available to us. So to take us off course, to keep us comfortable with our current situation. That's why we have to have keen focus on what's going on, and we have to relate to politics very clearly, because politics is in everything, and politics is everywhere. And whether we accept it or not, it's going to happen. So we have to make that clear to ourselves, and we have to strengthen our relationship to it, and decide what we're going to do, and actually do what we say we're going to do. Right? We got to be present when organizations are available and they're talking about matters that are dealing with our very life, right? Matters of food, clothing, shelter. How do we make that possible? How do we relate to that clearly? This is what we have to take seriously. The example of Maurice Bishop is a fine example for us to follow, right? We got to educate ourselves and educate our children on who Maurice Bishop was. And why do we think he was assassinated? Well, we know why, right? Because those ideas that he represents were a threat to those outside of Grenada, those who wanted to come and secure Great Grenada in terms of their interests. And, that's something that we have to look at seriously. We can't take lightly. We can't look at politics as something that is an entertainment, like watching basketball or football. We have to take it as what it is. It's our very life, right? Revolutionaries know that there's no compromise with their position, because to do that is to sell the people short. Actually, it is to sell out the people, because you were not fighting as hard as you should have. So political prisoners understand that. Martyrs understand that, right? Before they become martyrs, obviously. But they're still taking a very clear position. They're not backing up from their position. And that's what we need to respect. And how do we show that respect? We got to put it into practice. We got to be somewhere and talk about Maurice Bishop. We got to talk about Che Guevara. We got to talk about Thomas Sankara. And we got to talk about others, because of the work that they done and the example that they showed us, right? Because when we're looking for what represents us, we look towards people who did serious work and brought about significant change, because that's exactly what Maurice Bishop done. He did. He brought about significant change, in all sectors of society. And he understood the importance of education. They had a new secondary school built, and that lets you know where his mind, where his focus was. And because of that, we have that example to follow, because a lot of times we're looking for answers, but people were struggling to make things better, not only for themselves but for the collective. And they led examples, right? They have, their body of work has been documented in documentaries, also in their speeches, and also on biographies that are written by them, right? So we're just going to end this episode with that and let you know that you have the responsibility to fight. If you have any respect for any of our martyrs and our political prisoners, you're a part of the work to continue to recognize them and to continue to fight hard and strong to bring our political prisoners home. So what's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Sometimes the rioters are quiet.